One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live broadcast. It's September 21st, 2012, and there's just a ton of insanity going on in the world, and I'm going to be covering a bunch of it tonight. And to join me going over everything, giving us the benefit of his analysis on things, is my good friend, fellow radio show host, and epic researcher, Mr. Mike Vail. Mike, welcome back to the broadcast.
Hey, it's been a little minute since I've been back, man, and there is never a time when there is something to discuss, that isn't like so big as it is now, and we definitely need time for that, and I'm glad to be here. So,
since you have your, I would say, finger on the button of the world geopolitical events, because you do keep an eye on things. In fact, Mike, plug your website really quick, because I know the CIA pays attention to it. So go ahead and plug your website really quick.
The website is stratrisks.com. The tagline, the CIA visits, so should you, and you should.
Yes, and that's because Mike does take the time to actually do an in-depth analysis on certain things, certain issues, especially geopolitical issues. That's why I like to have you on to discuss this stuff, because you really know what's going on. So let's take a look at what's going on in the Middle East right now. I think the hot button spot right now is Syria. Some people are really afraid that Israel is going to attack Iran, and we've all heard this before. But there is with the election coming up, and knowing Netanyahu, as I do, not that I know him personally, but knowing him, what I know of him, there is a possibility that it could happen. But sometimes I'm inclined to look at this stuff like a lot of it is being put out there to pump that fear vibe and to scare the crap out of people. I'm not saying it's not possible, especially with all the military equipment heading over to the Middle East. I mean, that is kind of shady, but what do you think? Do you think Syria is going to be the blowing up point, or do you think that Israel is going to hit Iran first before we even get a chance to get into Syria?
Well, I mean, if you recall, during the Bush era, Israel was really saying the same thing. We're going to hit him, 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 and nothing really came of that. And if you're not going to hit him during the Bush era, I mean, when it was just carte blanche, you could do what you want to do, as long as you're bombing brown people. And it didn't happen. I mean, obviously there are some reasons why it didn't happen. But like I say, Syria is setting the stage for Iran. It is basically knocking over a domino. It's knocking over a support structure that supports Iran. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not doing other things to Iran, such as talk of weather weapons, such as destroying their economy.
I had somebody ask me that the other day in a comment. They made a comment about why are we threatening to invade Iran when we could just use weather weapons against them, and I started laughing because I was just like, yeah, we already do. And not to mention the fact that because the question was framed, why would they do this in our country? Why wouldn't they use this? Why would they use it against us? Why wouldn't they use it against an enemy like Iran? And it's like these people are still stuck in the it's us versus them mentality. I don't think they get the bigger geopolitical structure of what's going on.
Well, the thing about it is we look back to World War II. There was a program called Operation Vegetarian. Where Churchill instinctively had planned to bomb the crops of the Germans. Of course, then there's Operation Popeye, flooding the Ho Chi Minh Trail. There's a recent Air Force document owning the weather in 2025. So, I mean, that's really available. I mean, it's easy enough to destroy an economy, but when you destroy the economy and you destroy the crops there as well, I mean, that country's going to collapse from within itself. There may be no need to invade when you're doing the dirty work yourself and it collapses under its own weight.
Well, see, that's why when people ask me, do I think martial law is going to be declared tomorrow? No, because, I mean, honestly, when you see the military having drills to do certain things, I wouldn't freak out because, oh, my God, they're going to come kick your door in tonight. I mean, let's be straight up and honest about this. The fact remains they've been doing these drills for over 20 years. I'm not saying that things haven't ramped up. I agree. But I do not believe, and I could be wrong, but from my personal view on it, I don't think martial law will be declared tomorrow. See, what I think they would do first is use the weather weapons, create a drought, horrific drought, food shortages because of the drought, things like that. And then in the ensuing chaos of people not having food, they could bring in and all the chaos that would be going on, they would let it get out of hand. They would stand back and let things build to a crescendo to where people, at one point, someone's going to say, somebody, please come save me. And at that point, that's when they would bring in the troops. And
it almost happened when the Iranian protests were at its peak. There was almost time for that, but it didn't play out as well as they thought it did. But you're absolutely right, because okay, the way that the military does drills, and I've heard this from the horse's mouth from various people, they do drills for several different things. Of course, they're doing it for maybe they're exercising to get rid of mines and things like that in the Straits of Hormuz. They're also showing force, showing unity. They're also trying to keep the pressure on Iran. Maybe they'll make a mistake. Maybe they'll attack them, be foolish enough to attack. And so there's so many variants and so many reasons for them to do those drills. And those, a lot of times, are live fire drills. So you never know what could happen. And don't forget Cheney saying that you could have some fast boat, shoot at the U.S. or shoot at Britain, and you'd already be in war. So I like to say they test the waters as far as also in the media. They throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. And if it sticks, they run with it. If it doesn't stick, then it wasn't good enough. All this coming out of the PR warehousing outlets.
And you're right, dude. That's a really big red flag and point to point out about what Cheney said. I want to go back there for a second because that's a key thing. He talked about having special ops go in and like SEALs, dress them, get boats, either steal Iranian patrol boats or make boats that looked like Iranian patrol boats, go in dressed as the Iranian Navy and attack one of our ships. And he said they would have to kill sailors and kill Marines, kill whoever that were on board the ship and attack the ship. And there had to be you had to have deaths so that way it would enrage people. Now, where have we seen this before? Where have I seen false flag on ships before?
Wait. There's a hallmark here that we haven't really looked at.
The coal.
What about the embassies? Well, obviously it's the coal, but what about the new embassy issues with protest and violence? Do you think that in itself might be really kind of provocatory things?
That's a whole psyop. That thing is being done to at least two reasons I see. One, it helps inflame the Muslims, and I don't mean that they would even have to see it. All they would have to do is hear that the Westerners were making fun of Allah or whatever, and you're going to get people out of all of them. Yeah, they're gonna get pissed off people. Now, I don't think the people that attacked the consulate or whatever the hell it was a safe house. I don't think they had in fact, I know from my research that there was not some spontaneous protest and people got angry.
They were paid paramilitary. Okay, honestly, that in itself, I'm gonna tell you right now, right on the record, I'm thinking this is gonna be kind of like an October surprise, in the same vein where Nixon told the head of Vietnam, "Don't sign the peace plan just yet. Let it go on for a while. We'll get into the White House and then we'll sign the peace plan." And that is exactly what happened. And so look out for that October surprise.
Yeah, and now you got, what's his name, Pachenik, saying, "Oh my God, they're going to start. World War III starts in September 25th. Hey, Dr. Pachenik, with all due respect, World War III has already started. It started the day we set boots on the ground in Iraq. We just didn't realize it yet. Actually, it started the day we set boots on the ground in Afghanistan. We just hadn't realized it yet. This is all part of their what the hell is that, PNAC, Project for a New American Century? Because they want to invade things, and we really can't get people behind invasion and death and killing unless we kill our own citizens in some sort of attack and blame it on a bunch of Muslims over in the Middle East. Well, then hell, we can get everybody pissed off and ready to go invade the Middle East. Gee, isn't that what happened?
That's exactly what happened. I mean, honestly, they do this for effect, and the media is right there as an arm of the government. Think about it. All the prepackaged news and all the feeds that are coming out of the media. Now, they'll look and see which ones are more effective, and then they'll put that into their little black hat to run later.
Yeah, and it's the basic.
I mean, all of this is a test bed.
Well, the basic playbook is the same, but you're right, it is a test bed. Well, Iraq was a test bed because they're training to do house-to-house combat and stuff like that. You don't think that the military learned lessons from Iraq, which it now teaches the newer generation of soldiers? See, it wasn't people are like, "Oh my God, all these guys from Iraq are coming back." I have news for you. Most of the people that served in Iraq, there are a lot that are still in the military, but a lot of them are getting sick and they're getting disabled due to either injuries or being exposed to depleted uranium or vaccines and stuff. See, what they do is they're used to test situations and certain things out. So that way, the overall structure, like the Army as a whole or the Marine Corps as a whole, learns from certain battles and certain techniques. And then they perfect what they would consider to be like in the Marines' case, it would be like house-to-house combat. Yeah, they'll honor the Marines that were killed and were fighting everything, but it's not really about training them. It's about perfecting a strategy that you can teach to the future generations.
Yes. What about Katrina?
Here.
I think Katrina was a test bed, to be honest with you.
Oh, dude, anybody that doesn't see Katrina as a test bed, trial run of martial law on a small scale to see what they can do to control the situation. I mean, if you go and interview or talk to anybody that was in one of those quote-unquote camps, where the refugees were, they had ID bracelets where they were getting scanned in, barcoded on the ID bracelets already. And that was, 7 years ago? Was it 7 years ago already? Has it been that long since Katrina hit? Yeah, that long ago, I think. It was like 2005, so 7 years ago. And they had the barcodes. Oh, it was Bush's ineptitude. No, please, you really think that the federal government is so inept that they couldn't go take care of that situation? Come on.
No. They're kind of like serpents, okay? That are do certain thing on instinct, but they'll let you have a point of view the way you think of them as a certain way, so that things are made easy for them. Okay. Oh, well, Bush is just stupid, and it just happened because Bush was stupid. But I mean, if you look at Bush as a governor and during his debates, Bush was very intelligent. I mean, I still think he was very intelligent, but the fact of the matter is that the PR companies say, okay, you got to mess up a couple words. You got to have a flub or two. So the populace, will sort of think you're just like them, and that, you can do whatever have you. You can just say it was a mistake, and admit it was a mistake. I mean, all of that is nothing more than game.
Of course it is. It's the bumbling idiot. That was a facade. And I'm not saying he was the smartest person in the world or he ran anything in particular, because we all know he was just a puppet because of who his daddy was, basically, because of his last name and his blood lineage. But that doesn't mean that he was as big of a fool as you would think he is. Have you ever seen him in any post interviews that he's done? He's actually pretty articulate when you hear him talk. And you're like, how is this the same guy that would go up to the podium and quote unquote had all these George Bush isms? That's because it's deflection, dude. They get people to believe that the government is so inept and so retarded that there's no possible way they ever could have pulled it off. And then and I don't even mean the government. Government again is a tool. It's rogue factions inside of this structure that pulled it off. It wasn't the structure itself as a whole. And that's another thing. That's a straw man when you hear, oh, you think Bush, pushed the plunger down and blew up the towers? No, I never said that. And neither did anybody else in the 9/11 Truth Movement. And if they ever did, anybody that ever did say Bush did it with a remote control from the White House or from wherever in Florida, then the guy's probably a disinfo toolbox. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, no one ever, I've never heard anybody with any clout that's come out and spoke about 9/11 and the realities of the situation. And I don't like to call it the 9/11 Truth Movement because I hate that term movement. Because it makes it like I know there's a lot of people out there, but it's not a movement. It's just truth coming out. If you allow it to be called a movement, then it gets labeled something, marginalized, and pushed to the side.
And truth has a sort of philosophical sort of connotation. How about the 9/11 facts movement? Right?
Instead of, when people call me a conspiracy theorist, I say, no, I'm a conspiracy factualist. Because conspiracies are real. See, one of the big problems is, Mike, people misuse the term conspiracy, and you'll hear them say, oh, it's not a conspiracy. These people really are getting together to, screw us over or blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, hold on a second. You're not using your brain, and that's why you're led around by the nose. Because the way conspiracy has been instilled into most people is they when they hear conspiracy, they think kooky, crazy, tinfoil hat, nutbag. They don't understand.
It's turned into a reflex by the media. I mean,
course.
The media, when the media talks about conspiracy theory so much, it's ingrained into you like a reflex. As soon as someone says something that sounds like a conspiracy theory, they go, oh, that crazy conspiracy theory stuff. Regardless if your information is factual in the context of history or whatnot, it doesn't matter. They've been listening to Bill O'Reilly too much.
Well, of course, and it's talking points. And the term conspiracy has been reprogrammed in their noodle. And like I said, when they hear it, they think crazy nutbag, tinfoil hat, you can't possibly, aliens and ghosts or whatever else. And they try to attach anything that is not within the quote-unquote, normal sphere of things, anything that's out of it. They try to attach everything together. And I'm not saying that there maybe at certain levels everything connects into one another, down the road. But they do that because then people hear that, as soon as you say, well, it's a conspiracy, oh, God, you must be a nut. But people
I've learned that the hard way, Popeye. You know what I do when somebody talks about like something, maybe like 9/11 or something like that, I will give them a like quick, sort of contextual, like fact jab, like repeated fact jabs, to the point where they have no choice but to regard what I said and then go look it up. Because I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to go over this and say, those damn globalists, they're out to kill us all. I'm just going to hit you with information. You can go and look up your damn self, and I'll sit there and watch you do it. And then they'll go, oh, you're right. Yeah, of course.
And, or you get the ones that'll say, you know what? Even if what you're saying is true, and I accept that what you're saying is true. It's just too much for me. And then they pull a cipher and they go and they make a deal with Agent Smith, and they'd rather eat the steak and go back into the Matrix.
Now, that does happen. I was talking with my own family who watch TV like 24 hours a day. I went, you ever heard of the NDAA? What's the NDAA? You think of something so important, like Americans being killed or disappeared in legislation, okay, that they never heard of because the media didn't tell them. Did the media spoon feed you today while to eat? Okay, did they tuck you in at night to sleep? I think we can be a little more autonomous and a little more independent than relying on the media for our information.
Well, look, they expose themselves, Mike. Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC, ABC, and CBS. Those five. I mean, we could go PBS, we could go C-SPAN, but let's stay with the five: ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and CNN. Have you heard any of them go into any detail or even talk about? Maybe Fox, I don't know, and if they did it, I'm sure they made it sound like the person going against it was crazy anyway. But have you heard anybody do any in-depth stories or interviews or anything about Obama and the Justice Department or Obama and his administration fighting this judge about the NDAA?
No, of course not.
And then it just gets turned. For 2 months, it's been no, it's unconstitutional. You can't detain American citizens indefinitely. Can't do it. And the same president who said he didn't agree with it and he would never use that power. I don't want to use that power. I'm never going to use that power. Fought tooth and nail to get that
to
power.
Keep it. Yeah,
right. And then he finally found some scumbag judge that would give him the, oh no, well, we'll give you a continuance right now on this because this is important. But
National
no, people aren't worried about that,
red
bro.
herring.
Yeah, but they're not worried about that. They're worried about freaking Dancing with the Stars. It's amazing.
Honey Boo Boo. You ever seen Honey Boo Boo?
No, I don't even know what the hell it is. I don't watch TV.
Dude, okay. Think fat hillbillies in the middle of nowhere in rural Georgia. That's the show called Honey Boo Boo.
And I'm sure it's probably a number one hit. What loser channel is it on?
Oh God, I forget. But just think fat hillbillies.
Probably TLC or Discovery. I mean that seems to be their forte as of late. TLC went from the Learning Channel to the reality retarded show channel. We'll be right back, ladies. We are back. Now I'm going to switch gears. We'll get back onto the Middle East and Iran. I want to get, Mike's taking a few more things, and I want to pick his brain about a few possible scenarios. But there's a few other things I want to get into, and I want to make sure we get them out of the way before we get back into it, because the Middle East is a big thing, and Mike and I can just ramble on. So I want to make sure we get a few of these other things covered first. Mike, have you heard about this morality on-off switch?
Oh, man. That is something I've been following for a while now. And they talked about, the ability to give it to prisoners who are in jail for violent crimes, sort of going back to the, Clockwork Orange deal, where they make a gang leader who, makes him go on a procedure that makes him incapable of violence. And they say that maybe the prisoners today we have should be given this morality deal or pill or whatever have you, so that they can, they can be a good citizen. They can be readjusted by the government. Yeah, because that always works out real well. Let me play an audio snippet for you. It's about a minute long. This is from last April. And then I want to talk about an article that I found on your site, StratRisks, which it dovetails with this. It talks about the very same thing. But I want to play this audio clip because this is from over a year ago. This is about a year and a half ago now. Okay, listen to what he's talking about.
Do you have those? Some scientists say that they have come up with a way to turn off the part of the human brain that's responsible for morals. Some people may have had that done already. Anyway, the difference between right and wrong, it's the part of the brain that controls that. And they use this technique called transcranial magnetic stimulation. Basically, there's this powerful magnet, and they put it on the head on the certain part of the brain, right? Turn it on, certain part of your skull, fire it up, and it disrupts the brain activity there. And presto, no more morals at all. Weird, right? Anyway, they also at the same time tested subjects to see how they felt when somebody got hurt. It turns out they usually didn't feel too bad about it at all. Now, this morality science brings us all kinds of moral issues, like what would happen if somebody who had the treatment did something wrong? Could that person be blamed after the person got the treatment? Of course, in the wrong hands, it could be possibly therapeutic. In the right hands, it could be possibly therapeutic, but in the wrong hands, all kinds of things could go whack. So for now, put tinfoil on your head and fear not, just to be safe.
Of course, he's got to take a swipe at anybody that would think conspiracy, right? Because with the little tinfoil remark, because I can't stand Shepard Smith sometimes.
Fox,
he's the only one. He's the only one that I can honestly listen to half the time, because he does like during Katrina, he was the only Fox News reporter that was reporting accurately about how people weren't being allowed out of New Orleans, and there were a lot of people making fun of him for it and talking crap to him and everything else. And it turns out that he was right on the money. So he's the only one over at Fox News I could tolerate for more than about 3 seconds. But you see, that was from April of last year. Now, fast forward to now, in your article about the same thing, a morality on-off switch, and it's titled, "People Can Be Tricked into Reversing Their Opinions on Morality." This is science fiction type stuff, Mike.
Oh, definitely. Matter of fact, there have been a number of studies with psychopaths. They found out that psychopaths don't really have a morality system. Stalin didn't give a rat's ass when he was sending his best buddies, to a firing squad for his show trials. He didn't care. They don't have what you say is sort of idea of what's good and bad or a conscience. But, from what I've been hearing from a lot of the sort of bioethics types out there, the scientists into the new age of eugenics, they say that possibly we should be giving a morality pill or some sort of a thing to prisoners who have been convicted multiple times of violent crimes. Doesn't this have a sort of H.G. Wells utopia, dystopic sort of view to it? It's pretty nasty. It's sort of reminiscent of A Clockwork Orange, as I said
Was
before.
it A Brave New World where they gave everybody Soma?
Yep, sure was.
See, and what do you have today? A pill called Soma.
Yeah, and then interesting.
Which is highly addictive, I may add. There's certain places where it's a huge problem. I know Puerto Rico back in the day used to have a huge problem with it. And in fact, my wife is the one that brought that to my attention one day because she heard me talking about the book, and somehow it was mentioned to me about Soma, and I said, wait a minute, repeat the name of that drug again, because she brought it up, and I was at the time I was going through A Brave New World, and she said, yeah, there were back when I was younger, there used to be, because she grew up in Puerto Rico, there was a problem with addiction, people being addicted to Somas and stuff, and going and buying them illegally and stuff like they do here with Xanax and other pills. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And she's like, why? And I explained to her that the book had this, it was a medication that they gave everybody, and it, changed their attitude. Nobody gave a shit about anything. It was like, I'm on Soma. And she said that's exactly what it does to people. They just pretty much check out. And you can get retarded on it, like take too much and be like, woo, but pretty much she confirmed that people were checking out on it. And then that was one of it was very weird. It was just synchronistic. I was like, wow, because I didn't even realize there was a real drug named Soma at the time. And then I looked into it after she brought it up to me, and she was 110% accurate. I was like, oh my God.
Check out the movie called Harrison Bergeron. It's from 1995. Great movie. And here's a little snippet of what it really is about, and it'll blow your mind. It says, quote, "All men are not created equal. It is the purpose of government to make them so." Says that is the premise of the adaptation of Kurt Vonnegut's futuristic short story, Harrison Bergeron. The film centers around a young man, Harrison, who is smarter than his peers and is not affected by the usual handicapping which is used to train all Americans so everyone is of equal intelligence. Of course, this comes from Kurt Vonnegut. Now you talk about a morality pill, or nowadays they talk about the ability to scan people based upon brain scans, electroencephalograms and such. I mean, honestly, they're just talking about it openly now. They don't even care anymore. And debate will not be debated by you and I. The debate will be within the academia, within the the peer review of scientists, which is even worse.
Because most of these people are sociopaths, and if not psychopaths. And they have no regard for anyone at all. They could care less. They do not care. That's one of the biggest problems I find are these like researchers. I don't want to make it sound like they're better than anybody because they have some college education. But people like Cass Sunstein, of that caliber, those are the ones that are real dangerous because they're the ones that they have the ears of these people in power. So although the person in power might be bad, but can you imagine if the person in power is bad and then the person that has their ear, it is like their consigliere, it comes up and they're 10 times worse? I mean, Cass Sunstein is worse than anybody that I think he just quit too, if I remember correctly. But he's worse than anybody I could think of right now.
I mentioned Stalin early on there. Stalin had a guy who had to create the NKVD, which was kind of evolution of the Cheka, which was just horrible. They were created by Lenin. And then he started to get soft because he saw all the stuff going on that they were just murdering people and disappearing people for no reason at all. And he got soft and then he stopped really doing it. Stalin killed him, replaced him with a guy who was worse than he was. And so, like you said, with someone like Cass Sunstein, someone like Vilsack or others. I forget the guy who wrote that book.
Valerie Jarrett, she's evil.
What's the name of the one that talked about adding things to the water supply for? I
think that wasn't that Cass. Wasn't that Sunstein that said that they should put stuff into like drugs into the water supply to make everybody? I could be wrong. It might have been somebody else. You also have Sebelius, who's in charge of the health, human services, whatever department. She's another one. I mean, they're all disgusting human beings as far as I'm concerned because they. Well,
look at it like this, man. Look at it like this. Okay, think about this. How many people are on pharmaceutical drugs? All right, whether it be Soma, whether it be Paxil, whatever have you. We're talking millions and millions and millions of people. Now we're talking about millions and millions of people whose brain chemistries are now different from ours. Their reality is warped and different from ours that, we're born, having normally. Think about that. What if they become the majority? What happens to the minority?
Well, you know what? They don't even need to. See, they know that they won't ever become the majority. So what they do is they make the majority dumb.
Well, think about it. Like people becoming depressed and sad over really nothing. I'm so depressed and sad. Because I can't keep up with the Joneses and buy a new, whatever.
That's how everybody is, though. But see, I think there's more to it. I think that the reason they're feeling that way, a lot of it has to do with what the energy that's being put out there, and the fear that's being pumped out 24/7. And then because you're, instead of following your natural human emotions, they say, oh, my God, unplug, ignore your emotions and take these pills to make you a zombie.
Oh, yeah, and the emotions are there for a reason. That's the way we sort of purge. That's the way we sort of release, and that's how we get past things. Let's say someone dies, whatever have you, something bad happens to you. You have to go through those emotions, or otherwise, it'll just torment you, honestly, forever. It'll stay there in the back of your mind.
Well, let's look at PTSD, okay, for a second. I don't even like to call it PTSD because I don't like the term disorder. So we'll see. Let's look at PTS, post-traumatic stress, okay? Everybody always, oh, my God, it's so horrible. These poor guys coming back from war, they have and they always say PTSD, and oh, my God, and, let's pump them up on drugs because that's the answer. We have to give them drugs and everything else. No. You know what? What they're going through is a perfectly natural thing for what they experienced, okay?
Yeah, they've been through hell.
Yeah, they survived hell. So what they're going through is completely natural, They don't understand it because they're not being counseled. They're not being told that. Maybe down the road they realize it. But what's going on with them is 110% natural, because you'd be surprised at how your mind deals with things.
Think about this.
And they don't want to deal with that, dude. They just want to drug them up, put them on all sorts of drugs, which don't do anything. None of those mental drugs, I don't care what anybody says, those things, maybe in like 1 or 2% of situations they actually help out. But most of the time they turn people into brain-dead zombies. And most of the people on them, yes, I have seen people that are schizophrenic and stuff and do need their medication. Okay, I understand in that situation. But you know what? The majority of people on medications nowadays don't need medications. For real.
Imagine if every day for 5 years your brain was on fight or flight, kill or be killed. Every day, every hour, going back to the same sandbox over and over and over again. They keep saying they're going to send you home, but they give you another tour. Your brain has really physically been shocked with images of the worst kind of violence, over and over again for years. Of course that's going to harm somebody. Of course they need to talk about it and resolve it. But no, shut up, take this pill, you'll be just fine.
And they know that, like with traumatic brain injury and stuff like that, I'll tell you what would be the perfect cure. You want to help these guys that come back and they have like really bad PTS, and it's really bad, like they can't sleep, and there might even be certain brain damage due to the fact of maybe an explosion or something, and they have TBI, traumatic brain injury. Okay, if that's the case, cannabis oil. Rick Simpson's cannabis oil. It's already been proved. This stuff has helped people on so many different ways. It's not even funny. Our bodies have natural cannabinoid receptors built into them. Imagine the good we could be doing. But no, that wouldn't make Big Pharma any money, and that wouldn't help with the culling of the herd. They don't. You got to remember, when it comes to vets too, the VA is a big insurance company, and they don't want to pay out. I've seen guys that, I know plenty of Vietnam vets that are dying because of their exposure to Agent Orange, and the VA could, care less. I've seen them deny people that, prove that they were exposed to Agent Orange, and the VA still denied them and said, well, there's no connection or blah, 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 even after they admitted that there was a connection between Agent Orange and cancer, which was like a year and a half ago. And I still see guys get denied to this day for it. They do not care. They do not care. They do not care. They do not care. And if they don't care about the veterans that way, believe me, they could give 2 craps less about the citizens as well.
Well, look what happened on 9/11, okay? You got all these, first responders out there with no masks, okay? And they harp upon the first responders and, they saved lives. And yes, they did. They definitely saved lives. They did a hell of a lot, for New York. But what happens after the fact, after the smoke is cleared? They don't give a rat's ass. They just, watch him in a hospital slowly dying. And no one even talks about it on the media. It's like so hush-hush. Well, they did that. Sure, they saved lives. But we just don't care anymore because we're past that. It's the age of terrorism now. We're focused on something else now. Lives are unimportant to us.
They just don't care, man. Look, so people understand when you join the military, the reason why they're willing to test on the military, and I was actually talking about this earlier, they own you. When you sign up, you sign that contract, you literally are signing a contract, okay, which the Constitution, that's one of the back doors in it. You can contract your way out away from your constitutional rights, which you do as soon as you sign that paperwork in MEPS. When you sign that contract, you're telling the government your body is their property for at least 4, because usually it's 8 years, so it's like sometimes it'll be 4 active and 4 inactive reserve. Or if you did like 5 or 6 active, then you don't have to do the inactive reserve. A lot of times you just got to maybe have someone do roll call for you at drill or whatever. But I don't want to get too much off on a tangent. The whole point is with the damage that's being done to these soldiers with the PTSD and the traumatic brain injury, don't you think we could actually help more people if we just started looking up solutions like natural things instead of big pharma? and I know it doesn't play into their plans, like I said, but I want to push that because, man, I have seen, and especially in the past 6 or 8 months, I've seen more people get cured. Look at Tommy Chong. Okay, he had pancreatic cancer. And now it's almost gone. Look how many. There's a couple different websites you can look it up. And you can see that this stuff, your body has, again, natural cannabinoid receptors. It picks it up, okay, and it's amazing what this stuff can do. And I'm not advocating going out and just running around smoking pot and doing bong hits, running around smoking joints in the park and being an idiot. I'm talking about realistically looking at this to solve a problem. See, too often, this is where this is the path I originally wanted to go down. Too often, we don't solve the problem. We solve the symptom of the problem, right?
Yeah, we cover it up.
Yeah, what do we use? What is I don't want to just say big pharma because it's even more than that. I don't know what to call the medical industry. I always try to. It's not the medical industrial complex. That's so overused. I wouldn't want to, throw it in with that. But it's more than just big pharma. It's like the health. I don't know what the hell to call it. I don't know what kind of label you could slap on it and say it's more than just big pharma though. I mean, I know big pharma controls things, but there's more than that because there's companies that have fake knees or a fake hip and stuff like that, and they want to push the new. You should do more knee replacements. Try our new knee, our new fake knee, or try this or try that. So it's more than just big pharma. There's more money to be made in. It's almost like cars, dude. There's more money to be made with auto mechanics. Like cars aren't made to last anymore. Cars aren't made to. They're not made to go 30, 40 years. They're not made to last 200,000-300,000 miles. You get 100,000 miles out of a new car nowadays, you're lucky. You have to go in certain. Why do you have to go in for oil changes? Why can't they make an oil that holds its viscosity longer? Why do we have to go in every 3,000 miles? Because it's profitable. You think about it. If you didn't go get your oil changed, somebody wouldn't be changing the oil and there wouldn't be that job, right? That's the way I guess they look at it. Same thing with the health industry. If they cured things with natural stuff like cannabis oil and things like that, then I guess there wouldn't be a need for all these doctors. There wouldn't be a way for all these doctors to make money and have a nice house. They'd have to do something else.
That's true.
So it's more than, we often blame big pharma, and big pharma, don't get me wrong, has a lot to do with suppressing cures and alternative cures like cannabis oil and stuff like that.
But it is much bigger. I mean, think about these sort of statistics engine, okay, about how many people live, how many people die, how many people on this, how many people on that, how many people can we possibly get for the future? Or if Obamacare, it goes through and everything goes on with that, how much more money can go on? I mean, it's almost like an engine, an anti-human engine that is focused on humanity and somehow giving them the slow cure of your symptoms.
And again, it's the symptom. They never treat the problem. First of all, if they weren't sent to go do horrific things or put in horrific situations where even if they didn't partake, maybe they witnessed something. Maybe they didn't kill any civilians, but maybe a bomb went off and killed 6 of their friends. And they saw their friends get obliterated. We could help heal that. And through learning what we learned from helping heal that person or those individuals, imagine what we could help others throughout not only our country but the rest of the world. But they don't want that because it's not about humanity evolving. It's about controlling us. It's about pushing us down. Again, why do you think they want to have this morality on-off switch?
It's funny. I was talking about statistics. You think about like car insurance, right? You buy car insurance because, of course, the government says you're going to have insurance. And then, I'm going to break.
Yeah, we got the break sneaking up on us. I was going to let you finish, but we'll get into it. Mike, hold your thought, and we'll bring it up right there, and we'll get into a few other things, and then I want to steer it back towards the Middle East. But see, too much to talk about, just too much. Ladies and gentlemen, first hour flew by. Hour 2 coming up. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from federaljack.com. Make sure you check my website out. I do put a lot of work into it. It is September 21st, 2012. I'm hanging out with my buddy Mike Vail, show regular, good friend of mine. And, man, I am just tired today, Mike. I feel like I need an IV of coffee, man. I really do. Just been getting no sleep this whole week. It's been a rough one. I've had about, the past 3 days, I think I've had about maybe 6 or 7 hours of sleep. So I apologize. I am not on my A game today, boys and girls, but that's okay. Even in my B game, I still kick ass. So, Mike, I want to finish up with this morality thing, and then I want to get into a few other things. But what I forgot to mention last hour was that the Pentagon is working on, when I was talking about PTSD and I'd gotten sidetracked, the Pentagon's working on a pill to take care of that. So you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, yeah, I look forward to it. The Pentagon was also was testing for, planning for a vaccine that would get rid of fundamentalism from religion. So, yeah, I'll line right up for that one.
Mm-hmm. They want to have a memory adjustment pill. So that
that's Orwell right there.
Yeah, if you experience something traumatic, you don't have to worry about getting PTSD because you can take this pill and you'll forget what happened. And you don't have to worry about it.
Dude, wouldn't it be great? Okay, you're sitting there, watching some show, and in an unguarded moment, some politician actually tells the truth, and you go, "Ooh, I knew all about that." And then they all of a sudden they start handing out the pills. Some truth was spoken, so you must take the pill and disremember what you remember.
Well, imagine that, dude. Like, all of a sudden you find out that it's almost like a pill version of that thing Men in Black have. In the movies, the thing that Will Smith and what's his name, Tommy Lee Jones carried.
The flicker thing.
Pen. They were like, look right here for a second. And then everybody he'd be like, we weren't here. You're going to be a better wife to your husband or whatever. That's kind of like a pill form of that. Like, you didn't see your friend get killed. He died with honor fighting the terrorists. You will get back in there and fight. You will be strong. You will be a good soldier. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I could see them doing, dude. Literally. I mean, look, and this is not new either. Remember, Hitler had experienced or experimented, and I'm not saying, oh, it's the Nazis. I'm just saying, as an example, leader of a country and guy that was in charge of the military, he did experiment on his soldiers too, and they did experiments with PCP. Like they, make them super soldiers and stuff. So don't think that we wouldn't do it. I mean, it's not like it's not new.
No, because matter of fact, in a lot of recent documents from the Pentagon, they want to give soldiers drugs so they won't require sleep for 24 hours, and then there's the future combat systems thing where they want to lift more weight, be faster, stronger, be able to concentrate more. They want all this. I guess, being human is just not good enough.
Well, dude, they want to be gods. They don't want to, have the power of God. They literally want to bring themselves to what they would consider to be godhood status. And as I said before, when you sign that contract in MEPS, you they own your ass. That's it. So they'll use you however they want. They'll do whatever they want with you. They'll experiment on you. They'll do whatever they want. I'm telling you right now, I tell people all the time, if you're thinking about joining the military, go watch the movie Beyond Treason before you join the military. Tell me and watch it a few times and make sure that it sinks in, and do the research about the stuff that you see in there, and then tell me if you still want to join afterwards. Because all these experimental vaccines, who do you think gets them? Military.
Yeah, who gets them first? Yeah, you're right.
Who they test? I mean, they're test subjects. They really are. And there's no two ways about it. Throughout history, they've experimented on our military, our own government, and other governments too. So again, it's not something that's new. It's not like, this is a new concept that's never before been heard of. Oh my God. And again, if they're going to do that to the people that they spend a ton of money training on, what do you think they're going to do to you, who they don't spend any money on and have nothing but the utmost contempt for?
Yeah, who they don't really give a rat's ass about. I mean,
exactly. I mean, they don't give a rat's ass about the soldiers, sailors, airmen, or Marines either. But if you look at it from the way that these guys think in money terms, they spend a lot of money training an individual soldier or sailor or airman or Marine, and then to go and inject them with stuff and put them in a place like a pawn and they get blown up. Oh well, because they know that there's going to be some. Right now, they have just with the propaganda machine alone, they have a fresh. It's almost like a conveyor belt, just of fresh bodies going in, and the ones that get hurt, they just eject them and they replace it with a fresh 18-year-old kid.
Hey, Popeye.
They'll find him out there, dude.
And this is I'm gonna read off some headlines from my bioethics category here. All right, it's gonna be a little freaky here, so strap in. Number one, Inception helmet creates alternative reality. Here's another one. Hackers backdoor the human brain, successfully extract sensitive data. 3D printed meat development funded. Yummy. Let's see. 2045 Avatar project. Do billionaires crave eternal life? Is it time for genetically engineered Superman? Robot avatar body control by thought alone.
You notice the one common concept? It's all transhumanism.
It is. Check this out. Indian police still using truth serum. Global Family Planning Summit aims to reverse years of family planning neglect. A future of self-surveillance. Tech pioneers track bodily functions day and night. Let's see. Brain scans of small group of people can predict action. Okay, let's see. Riots may be controlled with chemicals.
Mike, go back.
Marketing to your
you cut out for a second. Go back and repeat that one about the brain scans again.
Oh, let's see here. Brain scans of small groups of people can predict actions of entire populations.
What?
Yeah, it says here.
Where's that from?
A new study by researchers from the University of Michigan, the University of Oregon, and the University of California at Los Angeles. The findings are relevant to political advertising, commercial market research, and public health campaigns, and broaden the use of brain imaging from a diagnosis to a predictive tool. Wargaming.
This is all funded by DARPA and the military.
Of course.
Pentagon. That's where this funding for all this crap comes from.
Check this one out. Marketing to your DNA. The suits want to know more about you.
See, dude, it's all about this. It's all about control and transhumanism. It's all about them achieving this godhood status and literally having total control over everyone. And I don't mean just what you can eat, but literally how you eat, how you think. I mean, they're not satisfied even with propaganda anymore, and because they know that people are forming their own opinions. They literally want to jack our brains, literally.
Yeah, here's a good one. Microchip implant gives medication on demand. Think about that one.
Oh yeah, that's the last thing you need, dude. What happens when they put something in there that's not medication? And you're walking around and it's, I don't know, cyanide, whatever. They do, there's a bazillion poisons that they could have, and there's some plant botanical from the freaking Amazon, whatever. And they go, oh, bad boy, boop. You press the little red button and you no longer exist. You're dead. You're walking down the street and suddenly you grab your chest and you fall over dead. That's how that works.
And check this one out. This one I get a lot of hits on. Achtung baby. German woman seeks pure blood Aryan men in India.
Good luck with that, unless you're looking for somebody that's related to one of the Nazis that escaped.
Dude, it's like the movie Boys from Brazil.
The weirdness, and we're being taught to accept this, by the way.
Oh, definitely.
That's what movies are about. That's why this new generation of teaching the younger kids different things than the things I was taught when I was a kid. But the adults are being conditioned through mass media too that this is okay, and that
they target children first. If they can get children, to accept augmented reality and 24 hours on the internet usage and things like that, and tablets and
video games, dude. Who do you think teaches our kids how to shoot first? I was talking. I had a guest on a couple weeks ago. She's an activist up in New York, and I think it was her cousin. I don't remember if he's in the Army or the Marines, but he learned how to shoot. When he went to boot camp, he got medals for shooting. Like he probably qualified expert. That's like the highest you can go, and that's what I qualified as. Well, he learned how to shoot because from playing video games, Call of Duty. He never owned a gun in real life. This kid. And she said that when he learned how to shoot and aim and everything from playing Call of Duty, that stuff does teach you hand-eye coordination. So when people say, oh, that video game, come on, Popeye, you think it's a conspiracy that video games are aimed at kids to get them ready for war? I know they are. They're freaking simulators. And then the kid has any better simulator. He has a better simulator situation than the military could ever give you in a military
It's better
fight.
than the cops' active shooter project.
And dude, think about it. The kid has a surround sound stereo system. He can sit and eat chips and everything. So he's super comfortable. He is in prime download mode. There is no interference. The military couldn't provide a better training atmosphere.
Actually, the military, has made certain games.
I know. Oh, dude, Full Spectrum Warrior.
Yep, I remember that one.
That whole game was about teaching you how to take a rifle squad and go clear out in urban combat situations, and that game was admittedly based on a military simulator. When people say the military industrial complex, or whatever you want to call it, the Pentagon, DARPA, when they say that they don't fund through proxy companies and whatever, whether it be maybe through the CIA, using a CIA front company or an NSA front company, whatever, when they say that there's no hands, it's coincidental that these games are like this, that's bullshit.
No, honestly, since day one, they wanted to, set up this little perfect world where they completely desensitize people. You think about it. You think about like movies. Back in the days, they were nowhere near as violent as they are today. People used to complain when Schwarzenegger killed maybe 40 people in a film. That's nowhere near how it is today.
Dude, you remember back in the day when people would pass out, and I've talked about this on there before. Remember when people would pass out because of the Exorcist movie and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And now you go to the movie, you see Saw, and they're literally chopping people's toes off with a pair of, tin snips or whatever the guy used, or garden shears, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, and they're drilling it, Hostile. They cut the guy's Achilles tendon, or they're drilling into people's skulls, or they saw where she had the big thing on her head, the bear trap or whatever the hell it was, and it crushed her friggin' head. That kind of gore, that you only saw that, and it was campy, by the way. You knew it was fake because it was. They couldn't make it any more realistic back in the day, so it was so campy that you knew it was fake. But that kind of gore was only found in like B-rated horror movies, or if you read Fangora magazine. Now you go to the Cineplex and everything. Even horror movies that came out. They were pushing the envelope with Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and things like that. And the what's his name with the claws, Freddy Krueger. All that. Nowadays, that stuff is tame. The stuff that these kids watch today, and then they wonder why kids are so desensitized and don't understand that in reality, dead is dead. And shooting your friend, will kill him. Or cutting your friend, his head off with an axe, or doing some, weird, retarded shit like that. That's not okay, because he doesn't come back. You don't hit reset. But they've been between video games and this horror movies, and it's not just kids either. Adults are desensitized too. That's why we're like, hey, you know what? Let's go kill all the Iranians. As long as I get my food stamps, or as long as I get my, my money on welfare, or as long as I still get my paycheck from my job and I can watch my football when I go home, or my Dancing with the Stars. They don't care. They've been desensitized.
Do you remember when there was a talk about invading Iraq? And there was a lot of people saying, go invade them Arabs just as long as I get some cheap gas.
Oh, dude, there's still people that are like that. There's still people that are...
what about Obama, when that lady said, Obama's going to pay my rent, Obama's going to pay... I'm like
Peggy Joseph, I believe her name was. She lives down here in Florida.
It's like she really believed that Obama's going to pay her rent. Give me a break.
I want to find her and interview her and be like,
slap her.
No, I just want to interview her and be like, did you get your check?
I know, right?
Has he paid your mortgage up? No. You went into foreclosure. They took your house.
Oh.
You live in a box? And your kids got taken away and got sold out into slavery by CPS? Wow. I thought Obama was going to come save you. You know, I don't know if that happened. She's probably still in her house, whatever. But I'm sure Obama didn't send her a mortgage payment. Or
Speaking of which, I didn't post it, but I saw recently a bunch of the private equity firms are buying out all kind of homes in the Tampa and Miami area so they can rent them out to people. I mean, like literally like buying up all the real estate and then say, oh, you got kicked out of your house? Here, we'll rent it to you. You can stay for a while until we find somebody else is better.
Dude, you know, they built down in downtown. They built, and I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but whatever. This is something interesting. They built all these high-rise condos over the past, 8-9 years. I mean, they've renovated downtown Miami. And the last time I was down there, there's a ton of these condos there, but you don't see too many people there at night. If you go down there, you'll see maybe a quarter of the lights, maybe about now it's about a quarter of the lights in the building will be on. And you're like, what the hell, man? There's no one there. Well, what it is that, and you go look into it and you're like, are they not selling? Because they weren't selling for a while. The American buyers just were not buying them because they're, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000, depending on what floor, what size. Some are even more, even in today's market. Well, people can't afford that stuff. So what they do is you got a lot of these people, regular American average everyday citizen, especially someone that lives in downtown Miami, can't afford that crap. So what they do is they sell that to these people that live in like South America, Costa Rica, whatever, and they have money from doing whatever, and even if it's their life savings or whatever, they buy the place and then they rent it out. So a lot of this real estate that people see real estate, they see these numbers being thrown out there. The economy's getting better. Real estate sales are going back up. The bubble's I had this conversation the other day with a guy. I said the bubble's not done going down. He goes, "Oh, it's done going down. It's a buyer's market still, but now it's on its way back up." I said, "Dude, I'm going to tell you what. There's more foreign people and more private companies buying these places up than there are American citizens." Look,
let me give you an example of the propaganda that I see a lot. Now, I mean, like you and I, we can read the propaganda pretty well and see it. But this was just blatant. Here's how it was. They set up this thing where they said, we've got new data on the economy. You should tune in. It was kind of like a little teaser for the next segment. And it goes, well, we've got the new data and we see that, like millions of people have now just fallen off the unemployment rolls and they don't even bother to look for jobs anymore. But the rate, the unemployment rate has gone down, and then they'll say another bit of bad data is this, that, and the other. But then at the end, they said we did a poll with small businesses in the area, and they said they're all going to be hiring soon. And it's like, really? I believe that you just went to a bunch of people, in their business and asked them, are they hiring? And they all said, yes, we're all hiring. I mean, it was just blatant propaganda. Oh, millions of people stopped looking for jobs, but the unemployment rate went down. Yeah, I really believe you.
Well, see, their numbers are skewed, dude. They play with the numbers. They come on and they'll say, oh, it's the economy is doing better. There's less people that are, getting unemployment. Yeah, that's because they've either run out of unemployment and they've now stopped looking for a job. So they've just literally dropped out of the job market altogether. I would say the unemployment rate in this country is probably somewhere around like 20%, 21%, maybe if not more.
Yeah, I would say conservative estimates too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's probably even closer to. It's probably even maybe like 25%. And I'm not trying to throw numbers out there to scare people because I don't like to do that. But I mean, let's be realistic. When you look at the reality of the situation, the numbers you're told, if they say that it's 11% unemployment, just double that right off.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like in 1984 where they go. Happy days, Inner Party citizens. The chocolate rations have gone up from 15% to 10%. And you know what? The funny thing about it is that I didn't catch it the first time I read it. And then I saw the movie, and they say chocolate prices have gone up from 15% to 10%, and everybody's all happy. Oh, it's so great! Give me some more gin. It's like, no, fool, it went down 5%. But that's what they do there with unemployment numbers.
Well, dude, yeah, exactly. They baffle people with numbers, and people don't understand this stuff, of course, because the educational system now has been destroyed. So
they play games like, unemployed, underemployed.
I love. Yeah, they have like 6 different names now. It's broken down into all these different sections. Underemployed. Are you unemployed? Are you unemployed and dropping out of the job market altogether, or not getting unemployment? So they shave everything they can, and even when they say, "Oh, the unemployment numbers are high," it's at 11% in the country. It's a total and outright lie. It's way higher than that. And again, they're not taking into account any of the, it's just like the home prices too, the home things. The home sales are on the rise, but it's not American citizens. It's not people.
No, it's a bunch of corporations.
It's corporations or foreign people.
Yep.
No, and I'm not bashing anybody from other countries for buying a house or anything like that, or a condo, but what I'm saying is the numbers they're presenting to people as like an uptick.
It's not
in
U.S.
the economy.
citizen numbers. It's new citizens, basically.
Exactly. It's got nothing to do with the current situation at hand, and that is a problem. And everybody's like, yay, the housing bubble is or the housing market is going up, yay. No, it's not.
Look.
We haven't finished dropping. I'm going to cut us off, Mike, because we got a break sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Final segment with Mike Vail coming up. Check his website out, stratrisks.com. Stratrisks.com. We are back with the final segment of tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. Mike Vail's been hanging out with me, and although we were first discussing World War III and going over a few of those topics, what's going on in the Middle East, we got onto the whole morality thing, and I guess you could say mind control, but not so much the subject of mind control like MK Ultra or anything like that. And we were talking about A Brave New World, and during the break, Mike and I were discussing Aldous Huxley and the author of A Brave New World. And, I wanted to bring this up because it's kind of an important point. I keep seeing people on Facebook quoting Huxley, like they make memes. By the way, you should go look up where memes came from. You'd be very interested to know that's a method of societal control. I'm not kidding.
It originally came from the Delphi technique,
and it's used to formulate opinion or help, push an idea. And I keep seeing memes, Mike, of like Huxley quotes, and people are doing it like he's a great
guy, nice guy.
It's a grandiose quote, and then Aldous Huxley, dude. You need to go read A Brave New World if you don't know who this guy is and understand what he was connected to. Wasn't he connected to like UNESCO?
Oh yeah. His older brother Julian Huxley was the founder of UNESCO. The Wells family, H.G. Wells, were literally their bitch. I mean, they were a sort of aristocracy of their own, and they really established a lot of what the New World Order really sort of prides today. They set it all in motion.
And it's so annoying when I see people with these well-intentioned people too, not stupid people, but I'll see well-intentioned people.
Well, even Orwell, like people will quote Orwell, and Orwell was a BBC war propagandist. Admittedly, he says so in a few of his books, and he sort of came around at some point in time and said, "Yeah, sure, I've been a propagandist, but things are getting just way out of hand."
Wasn't he MI6, or was he?
I'm not entirely sure, but
his real name wasn't his real name Eric Blair.
I've heard that, yeah.
And then one must ask if he's related to what's his name, Tony Blair. So, I'll
also check out the connections between Aldous Huxley and the Beatles.
Well, that was totally a controlled thing and a contrived thing. Those guys,
they paid people to go crazy for the Beatles. Let me read you this quote here before we go, though. This is just so awesome. It'll make you smile. Well, not really. From the World Bank document, Global Family Planning Revolution. Revolution, family planning. It says many of the early advocates of birth control, primarily in the UK and United States, came from the eugenics movement. And that says quite a lot right there. So, which was quite strong in both countries during the early decades of the 20th century. That movement, let me read this really slow for you guys. That movement had a certain intellectual respectability. See how, but it says until the horrors of Nazi Germany perpetrated in the name of racial policies destroyed it. It's like, sure, birth control, eugenics had respectability and was respected and was pushed to the fore until the Nazis took it and ran wild and got too much publicity, and we had to put it kind of on the back burner and change the name.
Which, yeah, it got changed from eugenics to right now they call it Planned Parenthood.
Or bioethics. That's
the other is the Bioethics Committee.
Yep.
But it's all about eugenics. And by the way, the Nazis took cues on their eugenics programs from none other than the United States.
The funny thing is that a lot of these people, people think about the Nazis, Holocaust and all this kind of stuff. They learned all of these things from, a lot of people like Warburg and some of the other ones. Even the communist side of it, Lenin learned all about world revolution from the Freemasons, okay? Because in the original doctrine, they talk about we want nothing more than perpetual world revolution. And Lenin sort of took, a sort of piece of his to implement in that country. He was told to implement it in his country.
So please stop. Do me a favor. Stop making memes with Aldous Huxley quotes like he's some sort of, awesome guy. Just because he might say something that sounds rather intelligent or might ring true, because even a broken clock is right twice a day, it does not mean that the guy is awesome. And, I've found out that recently, somebody told me this, a young a person I know who's they're in their early 20s, they're still in college. They told me that one of their required readings for their English, I guess it was English Lit or whatever, they have to read A Brave New World, and they're actually discussing it. But it's not being discussed like you think it would be discussed.
Yeah.
It's being discussed like, oh, it's a good thing, Oh,
it's a good thing to give children electroshock, to give them their auto response system to be averse to books or to be averse to flowers. Yes, that's really a great thing. We started out on the morality issue, and then we go to Brave New World, where they were setting up the sort of morality issue using electroshock, and now we're using transcranial electroshock to change people's morality.
Morality on off switch. I mean, dude, think about the implications of that. Just think about what you could do with that. Can you imagine if they have they already know that they can beam radio frequencies over a large spectrum, over a large area, right? Let's say they wanted to beam. We'll take a city in North America. Let's say New York. So they take HARP or whatever, maybe a different installation,
ultra low frequency.
Yeah. Maybe the one over in Arecibo, whatever. And they aim it so that they know that their frequency will bounce over top of that area, right? Now, what happens if they somehow intermingle this technology? So now they do the whole same thing over an entire citywide area, and they now morals are gone. Now morals go out the window. Can you imagine the chaos that they could create with such a weapon or such a piece of technology? They could literally create chaos and mayhem, and the apocalypse in a city going nuts, people attacking each other, eating each other, doing all sorts of crazy crap. They could literally they could trigger that, Mike. And this isn't sci-fi fantasy BS. This is the real deal.
No, matter of fact, I've seen patents where they talk about embedding, binaural beats and ultra low frequency waves, embedding that into an audio and video track, so where you would never notice it. It would just be a layer of that track, and it like I said, it would hit you. Let me read this little part here about the morals thing. This is not even like the transcranial deal. This is like a nice little, you could call it a little media trick, if you will. It says here, there was research led by Lars Hall, a cognitive scientist. He said 160 volunteers fill out a 2-page survey to the extent in which they agree with 12 statements, either about moral principles related to society in general or about the morality of current issues in the news, from prostitution to Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But the surveys also contained a magic trick. Each contained 2 sets of statements, one lightly glued on top of the other. Each survey was given on a clipboard, and on the back of which the researchers had added a patch of glue. When participants turned to the first page over to complete the second, the top statements would stick to the glue, exposing the hidden set, leaving the responses unchanged. And so it says 2 statements in every hidden set have reworded to mean the opposite of the original statements. For example, in the top statement read, large-scale government surveillance of email and internet traffic ought to be forbidden as a means to combat international crime and terrorism. The word forbidden was replaced with permitted. And think about how the media does this, like they sort of do a little switcheroo, where they'll talk about something that's really bad, but then reframe it as something that may be a possible good or boom for society. This is done all the time, and that originated with the RAND Corporation and the Delphi technique, which predates NLP.
And that's what by the way, memes come out of that. That's where the whole meme thing comes from, because they know that they can literally create societal control using different little techniques and tools, and a quote-unquote meme is one of them. And you see it all the time on Facebook today. And I've even fallen prey to it myself, and I had to actually slap myself and say no and make myself realize what I was doing. But, you'll share a picture on Facebook because the picture looks funny or whatever, and you don't even realize what might be linked to, with the picture, or you might not even...
What it says at the bottom.
Yeah, you might not even pay attention to what, who uploaded the photo or whatever, and you share it to all your friends, and you're literally exposing other people that on your list or whatever to different, maybe different avenues of thought, different things, and who knows, somebody might actually pick up on something, and look, they have us. It's like they're sitting up. It's like we're on a big chessboard, and they're sitting up on a set of bleachers above us. And they move one person, and then the other guy moves into one person, and then the other guy moves his, and then it's like they move us back and forth, and they play us, man,
and play us off each other.
Oh, all the time. They want people to fight, black, white, Hispanic, whatever. They want every race, whatever little differences we have, because we all are the same. At the same time, we are all different. I know that sounds very confusing, but it's the truth. We are all humans, but at the same time, we are all our own individual humans, and we all have our own quirks and different things about us, whether it be physically or mentally, that make us who we are. That's what makes up the individual being. But that does not mean that we are not all the same flesh. We all operate the same way. Cars all operate the same way. They all operate on pretty much the same basic function. They all run on gas or diesel, some sort of combustible, liquid based off of petroleum. So why can't we look at humans running the same way? We all run off of blood. If I needed a heart transplant, am I going to go to the doctor? Is it a black man's heart? It's not a Spanish person's heart, is it? I'm going to be like, Doc, get that in me now. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at that point, like I said, it doesn't matter.
And why doesn't it matter? Why does it matter when it's covered by a certain skin, or if the person has tattoos or whatever, certain color or whatever race? They play on that stuff, Mike. And
that is the only way that they can sort of circumnavigate, a laser-like focus on what's wrong. Okay, instead of us basically, kind of like you take a magnifying glass and use the sun and you burn ants with it, right? Well, they take that and they use a prism to take that single focus that's on something obviously wrong, like the NDAA or Patriot or whatever have you, and then they'll put it in a prism and they'll say, well, liberals think this way and Republicans think this way and libertarians think this way, and they diffuse our energies and have us, basically battling one another over nothing. That's called fractionalization of the masses.
And it works, man. Why do you think this whole Trayvon Martin thing was pushed the way it was pushed? Why do you think the media spun it and gave it so much attention? Those kind of things happen every day. Every day. But you know what? It got the attention it did because they tried to play it off like it was a race thing. They were race baiting. Why do you think Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton came down and got involved? I said this back when this happened. First of all, to sum it up in a nutshell, because I could go on for 15, 20 minutes alone about just this part, but Jesse Jackson is a member of the CFR. And do you ever notice that when him and Al Sharpton show up, Jesse's kind of like Al's handler? See, Al is a racist turd, and he loves to race bait people and stir the crap. It's like one of his favorite things to do.
They are tragedy pimps.
Yep, and Jesse, let me tell you, you want to talk about tragedy pimp? Jesse Jackson is known for smearing Martin Luther King's blood on himself. A lot
of people think that Jesse was one of the people who was actually involved in the assassination, and they say that he was trying to take the reins over, the what they called it, MLK's organization right after he died. I mean, he was literally right there talking to the media and trying to be the front man.
So when you see him and Al Sharpton coming out race baiting and playing the games that they did, okay, that was disgusting. Yes, what happened is a horrible situation on both ends. The one guy had to take someone's life, and the other kid lost his life. It's horrible on both ends. Both people's lives will be drastically changed forever. They will never be the same. Obviously, the kid's dead. His family, their lives will be different. But the guy that did the shooting and his family, their lives will be drastically altered as well. Okay, but this is done to play so that black people and white people can't get along, because there's no possible way that black people and white people could ever get along or ever see anything eye to eye. Although I'm white, Mike's black. Mike's one of my closest friends that I know. Okay. Do I hate him because of his skin color? I don't even see his skin color. I'm covered in tattoos. He doesn't look at me like I'm some white trash piece of shit. you know, seriously, you know what I mean? You judge me based on how I treat you and how we conversate with each other, not how I look. You know what I mean? Like, we need to get out of that, because we're never going to be able to come together and defeat anything or maybe make something new, because I don't think we can never really go back to what we were, but the opportunity to make something better is there. The opportunity to also have something crappier is there too, but we have to pull our heads out of our asses.
Here's the way that people look at each other now, okay? And this is something I've been reading called nonviolent communication, which really is a bad name for it. But here's what here's how they break it down, how people look at each other: friend, enemy, good, bad, normal, abnormal. I mean, at all moments of the day, people are like literally judging each other to say that, oh, well, I have more of this of him, and so he's poor and I'm rich, or that's not normal what he does, we're normal, and basically they're really fragmenting themselves from maybe having interaction that can be possibly beneficial for them and their friends. But instead of that, they're too busy judging each other, and then the reality shows come into play, and then, oh, I feel better about myself now watching these losers.
Exactly. And then, dude, it's so disgusting, because I see so many intelligent people fall into this. So, I mean, people that are like, you would, on a personal level, you'll be talking to them, you might have known them for years, and you're like, wow, I have a lot of respect for this person. They have insight, they have wisdom, they're smart. And then they fall into this, and it's like, dude, really? Like, you're being played, and it gets so frustrating when I see other people buying into it. And
like, I got to give an example. Look, I was talking to someone the other day, a friend of my family and such, and they're like, when are you going to get married? I'm like, I probably don't think I'm going to get married. You know, the first thing they said to me, that's not normal. And I said, what exactly is normal? Are we all automaton robots that do all things at the same time? Let me see, what foot do you put in first when you put your pants on? Is it left foot or the right foot? If you put it on the left foot, then you're not normal. And then all of a sudden it sort of clicked to him like, I was kind of judging you, weren't I? I was like, yeah, you were.
Like, for real, man. Like, people need to stop. we need to stop looking at each other. And it's not because we have, we just do this. That's not a natural. When people say, "Oh, that's human," bullshit. That's a lie. It's a programmed thing that it's been programmed into us to look at each other differently. Because if you look at babies, this is why I say it's not a human trait. If you take a Spanish kid, an Asian kid, a black kid, and a white kid, Indian kid, take an Iraqi kid, take an Iranian kid, Russian kid, Australian kid, stick them all together in a playpen. They don't care who's what color from what country, if one of them has slanty eyes, if one of them, speaks a weird language. They don't even speak. They all speak the same language,
But you know what? I've seen that the children, when they're put together like that, they're more curious about each other. They're interested in each other. They really don't judge each other.
Well, I'm saying they notice the differences, but they're like, oh wow, like curiosity, like, oh wow, that is so cool.
They're not so busy, trying to segment themselves from and partition each other from themselves. But like, okay, we're kids, but you're different. Hey, that's great. Where are you from? Blah 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 blah. But they get along just fine. They'll fight. They'll cry. They'll do whatever. But
it's not based on ignorance. I mean,
exactly.
That's a learned trait. That's something that's bred into us later on as adults.
We judge people. Yeah.
Well, dude, I mean, I even catch myself doing it. I'll say to my wife, we'll be sitting someplace, and I'll be like, "Oh, check this guy out," or "Check this chick out," or whatever, and then I'll say, "God." And I'll say to her, "Listen to us," and she's like, "Yeah, I know. Like we're, and I'm, like we're perfect. I'm not. Who am I to judge? I'm sure people look at me and go, God, look at tonight. I was out. I like to treat my wife once in a while, and I took her out for a quick bite to eat before I came on air, and there was this two old ladies sitting next to us, and this old lady was giving me and her the stink eye because I'm covered in tattoos from my fingertips up, and I don't have anything on my face. I look respectable, even if you could see my tattoos. I still look like, I don't have my face tattooed. Not that there's anything wrong with that, to each their own, but I whatever. So it's not like I had horns or anything coming out of my head, but
oh man, look,
you would have thought I did.
Look, check this out. I was with a buddy of mine named Sean, and we were going to this credit union, right? And it's about 7:00, and it's almost about night, right? We walk in. This lady, she looks at both of us, and she like clutches her purse, like brings it to the chest, like real fast, right? Like we're gonna rob her. And we literally start laughing, right? We start laughing because once that's happened so many times, it's kind of like it's almost like it's funny. Like check her out, she's clutching that purse, right? We start laughing, and then she kind of loosens up, If we looked at her and like got serious, like, what do you think, I'm gonna rob you? You think you got more money than me? Blah 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 blah. Then it got really serious. But us laughing at her because it was stupid because we had no intention of robbing her.
You diffused the situation, bro, by laughing. You did. See, that was the good thing. You diffused it because even if you had come at her and it wasn't like you're gonna mug her, you were still pissed off. She's not gonna read, oh, I made a mistake. She's gonna read, these guys are gonna mug me. I was ready.
Yeah.
To beat me up, Mikey. We're out of time, man. The 2 hours just went right by, and I'm glad that we got sidetracked onto this manipulation, and I'm glad we got a chance to actually talk about Huxley and stuff because I've been meaning to hit that, and I haven't had a chance. So I appreciate you coming on. We got about 15 seconds. Plug your website.
StratRisk.com. The CIA visits, so should you. And I'll be back next time around, man. Thanks for having me on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Time flies by. I love you all. I'll catch you all on Sunday. We're out.